Playbill of Hänsel and Gretel, a fairy opera in 3 acts. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Hänsel and Gretel, a fairy opera in 3 acts, by Adelheid Wette and Engelbert Humperdinck.
Argument. Hänsel and Gretel is an opera in 3 acts. The music by Engelbert Humperdinck and the libretto by Adelheid Wette. It is the German version of the old nursery legend, Babes in the Wood. The first scene discloses a wretched homestead. The 2 children, Hänsel and Gretel, are at work, the boy making brooms and the girl knitting stockings. They both complain of feeling very hungry, and there isn't a thing in the house. Yes, there is a jug of milk that will make nice blancmange when the mother comes home. Hänsel tastes it, and Gretel rubs his fingers. He says he won't work anymore and proposes they dance instead. Gretel is delighted. He is very awkward at first, but she teaches him the steps, and they are getting along so famously that they whirl around the room and fall exhausted on the floor. At this moment the mother enters, and she is so angry at seeing them do no work that she boxes their ears for it. In her excitement she gives the milk pitcher a push. It falls off the table, breaks in pieces, and spills all the milk. At this she is beside herself and seizes a basket and tells the children to go to the wood and pick strawberries. They must not come home until the basket is full. They run off while she, weary of life, sits sobbing herself to sleep. The father is heard in the distance with a joyous song and enters in a joyful mood. He wakes up his unhappy wife to tell that he has sold all his brooms at the fair for splendid prices, and he shows his basket full of provisions. Both are thus in fine humor when he asks where the children are. She says she sent them away in disgrace to the Ilsenstein. The Ilsenstein, he exclaims, where the witches ride on broomsticks and devour little children? Exclaiming, "Oh, horror!" she runs out of the house, he after her, to find Hänsel and Gretel. The second act shows a forest. Gretel is making a garland of wild roses while Hänsel is looking for strawberries. In the background is the Ilsenstein. It is sunset. Hänsel crowns Gretel queen of the wood, and she allows him to taste a strawberry. He gives her one in return, and little by little they devour them all. Then they are frightened. They want to pick more, but it's getting too dark. They want to leave, but cannot find the way. Gretel fears being in the dark, but Hänsel is very brave. She sees faces in trees and stumps, and he calls out to reassure her. Echo answers, and he grows frightened too. They huddle together as a thick mist arises which hides the background. Gretel, terror-stricken, falls on her knees and hides behind Hänsel. At this moment a little man appears, as the mist rises and quiets them. It is the Sandman, and he sings them to slumber. Half awake, they say their evening prayer and sink down on the moss in each other's arm. A dazzling light then appears. The mist rolls itself into a staircase, and angels pass down and group themselves about the 2 sleeping children. In the third act, the scene is the same, the mist still hiding the background. The dawn fairy shakes dewdrops on the children. They wake, but Hänsel very lazily. They both have had dreams of angels coming to see them with shining wings. The mist now clears away, and in the background is seen the witch's house with a fence of gingerbread figures. There are also seen an oven and a cage. Hänsel wants to go inside and Gretel draws him back. But Hänsel says the angels beguiled their footsteps, and why shouldn't they nibble a bit at the cottage? They tiptoe to the fence and break off a bit of the cake cautiously. The witch voice from within tells them to go on nibbling. They like the gingerbread. It suits them famously, and apparently suits her too, as she watches them from her window. But she comes out of the house as they are joyously laughing and throws a rope about Hänsel's neck and caresses them. Hänsel tries to get away and calls her names, while she goes on saying how she loves them both. They are such dainty morsels. Hänsel tries to run away and takes Gretel with him, but the witch casts a spell on them and they stand stock still. Then she leads Hänsel to the cage and shuts him in and gives him almonds and raisins to fatten him up. She loosens Gretel with a magic stick and says how nice and plump she will be when she is roasted brown. She opens the oven and puts more faggots under it, and says the fire will soon be ripe to push Gretel in. In her joy, she rides wildly round on a broomstick while Gretel watches from the house. The witch calls Gretel out and opens the oven door. Hänsel tells Gretel to beware, and the witch tells her to peep in the oven. Gretel pretends she does not understand. She secretly disenchants Hänsel so that when the witch bends over and peeps into the oven, they give her a push and in she goes. Then they dance wildly about. Hänsel throws sweetmeats out of the window. The oven cracks open and falls into bits, while groups of children suddenly surround Hänsel and Gretel. Then they disenchant the gingerbread children, who are very grateful. As they are all dragging the gingerbread witch about, the father and mother come in and are overjoyed at finding their children again. Dramatis Personae.
Peter the broom maker, husband of Gertrude, father of Hänsel and Gretel. Read by Alan Mapstone.
Gertrude, wife of Peter, mother of Hänsel and Gretel. Read by the Countess.
Hänsel, read by Val Roth.
Gretel, read by Nora Nelson.
The Witch, read by Sonia.
Sandman, read by David Purdy.
Dooman, read by Major Toast.
Children, read by
Brian Fawn.
The 14 Angels.
End of Playbill.